Goeienaand and welcome back to the third day of the Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival 2024, once again coming to you live from outside the Endler Hall. An enormous cold front struck the Cape last night, probably summoned Paganini style after the fiendish playing at last night's faculty concert, but it hasn't done much to dampen the electric atmosphere here in the Conserve, which has been abuzz with ensemble concerts, masterclasses, talks and rehearsals. 3 works are on the program for tonight's faculty concert, which starts at 8 o'clock. The piano quintet in G minor by Sergei Tanev, probably Tchaikovsky's most famous student. Then the Sicmf for Winds by contemporary American composer Valerie Coleman, and Gershwin's depiction of his time in the French capital, An American in Paris. Tonight, we will also be the first time that we hear the wind and brass instruments on the stage at this year's Sicmf. But first, let's look back at last night's faculty concert to the opening work by Schubert, his variations on Trockene Blumen, and you'll notice a couple of comic moments, courtesy of the cello and the viola, before the first notes are played. And there you have some Schubert to warm you up on this wet winter's night here in the Cape. the opening theme from his variations on Trockene Blumen, which kicked off last night's faculty concert with faculty artist Ekaterina Kornishina flute. Now it's been another busy day here at the Sicmf. Earlier this afternoon we hosted the very last guest ensemble concert with the Folkwang String Quartet from Essen in Germany, as they played 2 string quartets by Haydn and Shostakovich. And then faculty pianist Emanuel Ivanov hosted a masterclass for 3 lucky students. The first student ensemble concert then took place, and right now, just over in the Janisch Hall, organizational psychologist Lisa Kleinhans is giving our young musicians a talk on psychological well-being for thriving in new environments. And all of these wonderful events are the cornerstones of the Sicmf program. Its lifeblood really is its young people, those who are listening, learning, playing, supporting, observing and cheering. So let's cross to our roving camera to meet them. Courtney, welcome back, and tell us what's going on tonight.
Good evening, guys. This is the 19th Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, and tonight we're all buzzing and excited for the 3rd faculty concert of this week. I'm joined here with Julian, who will tell us about his experience so far.
Hi, quite exciting so far. Quite a big thing. There are lots of people this year, participants and all, and I'm quite excited to see the concerts at the end. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Julian will be performing with the FCO Saturday evening, so please do come and check him out. And also stay tuned for the rest of the concert and the rest of the evening. Thank you, John.
Cool, thank you so much, Courtney. And now I have a special guest here in my hot seat, someone you may have recognized from our live streams. And now we get the chance to hear what's been going on behind the scenes. So this is Josh Hugh, wearing many hats at this year's Sicmf, a student participant, he's a pianist, but very importantly, you may have noticed, also a page turner as well. A vital role in a festival such as this. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you very much for having me.
It must be pretty nerve-wracking to be on the stage in kind of as a musician, but also like a non-playing musician in a way.
It is. It's an interesting experience because you're on stage with the musicians, and I find it quite amazing being able to be there with the faculty members on stage, but not having to put in nearly as much effort as all of the musicians on stage. But it's still a task nonetheless, because I also acknowledge that if I mess up for the performer, it could very much throw everything off kilter. So it's still very nerve-wracking, but fun nonetheless.
Has that ever happened in your page-turning career where you've missed a cue?
For myself, no, but I have seen it and also been the victim of it with certain friends who have page-turned for me and not necessarily made the mark correctly. But I hope that it does not happen in the future either. So.
And when you're turning, do you normally get a cue from, say, Nina or whoever to say, now's the time, or is it up to you, you're following the score?
So it's completely dependent on the pianist. I have turned for a couple of different performers on stages, and Nina, for one, she will have a discussion with me beforehand and say, I would prefer if you paged a bar before the end of the page, or sometimes as we're getting to the end of the page. So it really is dependent on the pianist and the performer.
Do you think being a page turner is perhaps a job that might go out of fashion or become redundant? I noticed a lot of the string players, for example, have little pedals that they tap with their iPads and that kind of thing.
You know, so I think it's different for pianists because we also have to use our feet to pedal the una corda and the dampener pedal. So it's a little bit difficult then to also move your foot off to go and pedal for the pages. So I don't necessarily think that it will be out of fashion in the country.
Good. So many Sicmf still to come in which will need your competent services.
Hopefully, yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself as a pianist.
So I am. Yes. So I'm pianist, yes, and at Chamberfest this year I'm also managing the social media, and then participating in performances, and I work as a student assistant. And then outside of Chamberfest, I run an organisation known as the Classical Music Appreciation Club of Cape Town, or shortened to CMAC. And we're a youth organisation, so for the youth, by the youth, to be a platform for performers, young performers in and around Cape Town, Stellenbosch.
Yeah, and Sicmf has quite a following. I mean, you guys do a lot, events at Youngblood and all kinds of things.
We're essentially a group of really classical music obsessed people who simply want to show the rest of the country that there is still an interest in classical music, even in the youth. And then putting ourselves on stage, because we don't need to wait for others to give us that opportunity.
So if young musicians are listening and are keen to find out more about Sicmf, how would they go about that?
You can find us on Instagram at cmacofct, or you can hit our website, which is cmacofct.com. So quite easy.
Josh, are you on duty tonight?
I am not turning. Fortunately, I'm going to get to enjoy the incredible Tanev that Nina will also be performing with faculty. So I'm looking forward to being in the audience tonight and not on stage behind the scenes. Less stressful, of course.
Yes, absolutely. And anything else over the course of the Sicmf you're particularly looking forward to?
Immensely, an immense amount of things. I think that Nina has a serious knack for putting together programs, and this year is no exception. I think if you have not purchased tickets yet, you sincerely should. The faculty concerts in particular are filled with works that are mind-blowing to me in many degrees.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, this year, particularly bumper program of this juxtaposition, especially of classical and new music. So now we're going to cut to a clip from yesterday, from the Delia suite that we heard last night, a chance to see Josh in action. So Josh, thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the festival. And all strength to your hands, both as pianist but also as page turner. Thank you. Welcome back to our live stream here outside the Endler Hall, where our next concert is about to start. So let me tell you a little bit more about the first work on the program tonight, courtesy of these excellent program notes that are produced in the faculty booklet, courtesy of Barry Ross. So the piece we're about to hear is the Piano Quintet in G minor by Sergei Tanev. Now, Tchaikovsky, well known to us all as a great Russian composer, his influence as a teacher of composition is often overlooked. As a professor at the Moscow Conservatory, he nurtured a style of high romanticism that was international in character, as opposed to the Russian nationalism championed by composers such as Rimsky-Korsakov and Borodin, whom we'll hear later this week. Tanev, who lived from 1856 to 1915, was one of Tchaikovsky's most celebrated Moscow Conservatory students. In 1875, Tanev won the top prizes for both composition and piano, for the latter taught by Nikolai Rubinstein, and he was the first student at the conservatory to claim both awards upon graduation. Tanev would go on to occupy Tchaikovsky's position as professor of composition at the conservatory until his resignation in protest of the treatment of students who took part in the 1905 revolution. But before his composition appointment, Tanev forged a career as a formidable pianist, talking up the Russian premieres of Tchaikovsky's first and second piano concertos, and despite being very close to Tchaikovsky, their friendship was tempestuous. The older composer was notoriously thin-skinned when it came to criticism of his work. Now, the weighty Piano Quintet in G minor of Tanev's was composed in 1911 and was part of his output while attempting to make a living as a freelance musician after his resignation. Can't have been very easy. So time now for me to join the audience inside the Endler, and while I do so, here's another highlight from last night's faculty concert, the opening minutes of a recent work by the Argentinian composer Osvaldo Golichov entitled Ever Yours. Perfect. And welcome back. Here we are inside the Endler Hall for the third faculty concert at the 19th Sicmf Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. And as you probably know by now, we have three works on the program this evening. In the first half, the Piano Quintet in G minor by Tanev, and that'll be in 4 movements. And then after the interval, the Tsigane for Winds by Valerie Coleman, and then ending off tonight's program, An American in Paris by George Gershwin. And what I'm particularly looking forward to about tonight's program is we get to hear the diversity of interests or instruments rather, and interests, I guess, here at the Sicmf. The piano quintet to start, and then we hear all the wind instruments in the second half, ending with this fabulous brass arrangement of Gershwin's American in Paris. So really enjoying all the different colors on display here at the Sicmf. Whether it's keyboards, whether it's strings, whether it's winds or brass that turns you on, you'll get to hear and see it all tonight. Special announcement from our well, an impromptu performance there from our festival director, Peter Martens, just alerting everyone to the fact that there's a slight change in program. Nothing you need to worry about. It's just that in the printed programs, the interval is printed at a different place. But you already know that we're going to listen to the piano quintet, and then we'll take our break, and that will be followed in the second half by the Tzigane and an American in Paris. No small feat getting the stage arranged and aligned and everything in order for the instruments and their various demands and the musicians and page turners. And you'll see for the first violin there, the clicker as well, that in my chat with Josh, I mentioned a little bit earlier, musicians who use iPads or tablets to read their scores have little pedals they can tap with their toes, their feet, that then allows the music to progress. So that can be a very efficient way of staying on track. So our faculty artists are very much ready to come on stage. You've probably seen the odd view from the rehearsal room, but now we're delighted to welcome in no particular order, although I'm tempted to read them as they come out in the program from left to right: Andrei Baranov and Anna Vasileva, violins, Jennifer Stum, viola, Boris Andrianov, cello, and of course Nina Schumann, piano. In this performance of the piano quintet in G minor by Sergei Tanev, and there are 4 movements: an introduction, a scherzo, a largo, and the finale. Do enjoy this great work, no doubt inspired by the composer's teacher, Tchaikovsky. to enjoy some of the audience's appreciation. What a fantastic work, almost symphonic in its scale and conception, by Sergei Tanev, his piano quintet in G minor opus 30, and the 4 varied movements comprising that piece. And we heard Nino Schumann playing that virtuosic piano part, perhaps not surprising because the composer, Tanev, was himself an accomplished pianist. He gave the premieres of the first and second piano concertos by his teacher, Tchaikovsky, and then Andrei Baranov, Anna Vasileva, violins, Jennifer Stum, viola, and Boris Adrianov, cello, who wins the Sock Prize tonight. But no doubt air fashions are again to blame, but certainly that's not the right word, praise, compliment for the incredible color coordination amongst our ladies on the stage. And I really appreciate how the almost glittering of their dresses picked up the glittering of the high registers and the piano and the other instruments we heard in that piece. What a treat to be able to hear that kind of music live. Where else would one hear that in South Africa? At what other time of year, if not at the Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, coming to you live here from the Endler Hall. And so that wraps up the first half of the third faculty concert. I'm going to head outside because I'm going to have a chat now with Daniel Roland, who is another Sicmf family member. He and his wife, Maya Bogdanovich, have come to Sicmf many, many times. And I'm looking forward to having a catch-up with them because they were last here in 2022. See you in just a couple of minutes. perhaps like me, you needed just a couple of moments to catch your breath after that enormous piano quintet by Tanev. What a treat to hear that kind of music and that performance here live at the Stellenbosch Chamber Music Festival. I am an enormous Tchaikovsky fan, and so getting to know the music of his compositional pupils has been a real treat and something that has been championed at this festival. Now, as you know, we run interviews in our intervals here at the Sicmf, and I'm extremely happy to be chatting to a musician I greatly admire and someone that we are welcoming back to the festival this year, whom sadly we didn't see last year, but that gives us lots to catch up on tonight, and that's Daniel Roland.
Hi.
You've seen him on stage a lot over the last 2 nights, and that's going to form the basis of our chat in a little bit. But just to make Daniel squirm, because he's such a modest guy, I have to read to you the first 2 sentences of how he's described in the program for this festival, which I think just sums up his versatility as a musician. So Daniel Roland has established himself on the international scene as a highly versatile, charismatic and adventurous performer with a wide-ranging repertoire, as you've heard the first 2 concerts here. In recent seasons he's performed with orchestras from Tromsø in the north of Norway all the way to Cape Town in concertos from Beethoven and Brahms to Elgar, Berg and Korngold. And let's maybe take as the starting point for our chat now, when you were last here 2 years ago, just after the festival, you played with Maya, your wife, the double concerto by Brahms with our Cape Philharmonic Orchestra in a packed Artscape opera house.
Nice.
It was a cold night like this, but gosh, it was a fantastic piece.
That was, and that concert kind of popped up in the last minute, actually.
Really?
So I remember Nina calling us a few weeks before and saying, could you stay a couple of days extra?
I think they realized you and Maya were in town
exactly.
and needed to capitalize
That
on
was a really festive occasion. I remember that concert very well. Oh, yeah.
So it's been 2 years since then.
Yes.
Presumably you've been very busy. Perhaps the most important thing to mention is that you became a father again. Congratulations.
Yeah. Second daughter, exactly.
Wonderful news.
Now we have Lily and Evie. Yeah, that is absolutely. As all parents know, playing concerts is as all musician parents know, playing concerts is a blessing. I couldn't live without. But having these two little girls is another level altogether. It's amazing.
And this is something I'd like to unpack a little more with Maya. I'm going to be chatting to her tomorrow, because it's a real challenge, I imagine, for many musicians these days, how to balance work and family. How have you managed?
Well, I would say on some level it's not really possible. So you have to accept it's not really possible. And then you have to realize that over many generations, lots of busy, successful musician colleagues have done that. So it shouldn't be possible, because you need to be there for the kids, you need to run your household, you want to be an attentive parent who's actually at home. You want to enjoy that quality time with the kids. In the same time, you want to and need to get out there and play and do a lot of that. And intercontinental travel and driving around the country and all of that. So how to make a wedding between those 2 essential sides of life, I don't know. It's a mystery. It's officially not possible, but one manages. And I think it's just the sheer love of music, the sheer love of making music, also with Maya, my wife, was such a wonderful cellist. And then the endless love for these two girls. I think something you love, somebody or something you love so much, you make it happen magically. And I'm sure many musician friends will recognize that. And but it's still a bit of a mystery and a miracle.
And a particularly challenging situation, almost in your case, with both mum and dad being such accomplished and musicians in demand.
Well, the accomplished I leave to you. That's the evaluation.
But you travel a lot with your daughters, don't you? They come with you a lot of the time.
It's true that Maya and I do play a lot together, indoor, in our quartet that we have, and solo things. Yes, we travel with the daughters because we still can. Neither of them goes to school yet, but within a year or so, Lily, who's now almost 4, will go to school, and that will make things altogether even more complicated. But for now, for example, we thought about coming to Stellenbosch with the girls. In the end, we didn't, because Lily isn't even 1 yet, so we thought maybe it's a little early, the very long flights. And then next week we go to the Kuhmo Festival in the north of Finland. So there they will be coming, and that's high summer with the white nights, and it's very cozy. on
little bit easier,
on the lake. So
perhaps.
yeah, maybe easier. But having said that, we cannot wait to come back here, if we are invited back, with girls, and to then maybe in 1 or 2 years to show them the beauty, you know, the endless delights of Stellenbosch, Cape Town, and all. But you know, the beauty of nature and beauty of buildings and good food and good wine. We love that. We love that. But what we love most of all, and what already Lily, what a child latches on even more than that, is the human connection. Just all these interesting, fascinating, warm-hearted, colorful musicians. I think that's what makes the festival unique, and that's even what the child already recognizes. That's what's really important.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because one absolutely feels that. I mean, being in the hall, and I'm sure our viewers, even on the live stream, can feel this passion, this enthusiasm, not only for the music, but the love for each other, the camaraderie. And so to be able to instill that in your kids, that they pick
really,
up on it already.
And I mean, just about the kids that they see in our home all the time, all these very diverse musicians kind of popping up. And there was a funny story that my wife Maya was showing Lily a video of Yu Wang, you know, the world famous celebrated pianist. Yeah, amazing, incredible. And she asked, and then Lily, little daughter, asked, "Oh, I don't know her. I don't think she's been to our home yet." Like, so, but about talking about interesting, fascinating musicians, I do love that so much about this festival, that you get musicians from all parts of the world, all backgrounds, all ages. It's really quite a unique meeting point of incredibly diverse personage. And I think if I was a student here, I would be, and as one sees that they in fact are, just looking with large, shiny eyes at all these characters. They were one more colorful than the other. So that really is something to bring that together here.
Because representation is so important, especially these days, role models as well. And so for the students to be able to have this up close and personal, intimate interaction with these superstars like yourself, like Maya, like our many other faculty
once
here,
again, that's up to you. But
is an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, it is a unique mix that Nina brings together here. I'm delighted to be a part of it.
Yeah. So not just the musicians, but the music as well. And that's what we're going to turn our focus to now.
Music and all these premieres, all this new music. Incredible.
And the virtuosity as well. Work after work after work. I mean, we've had Mahler, Beethoven on the first night, starting off with that beautiful lyric by George Walker, which for me was perfect start to that first concert, just bringing us all thoughtfully, calmly onto the same page together.
So I have to say, the way you always describe the music just after we've heard it is always just spot on. I have to really compliment you. I think it's amazing.
Well, and it's not all me. A lot of it is also Barry Ross, I mentioned a little bit earlier, who writes the program notes for this festival, who also has a wonderful way with words.
And you do it in harmony together.
Plagiarize him now
Fantastic.
and then, indeed.
No, but indeed, I'd never heard of this composer, Walker.
Yes.
And as you say, the piece is deeply touching, and then Nina had this wonderful idea to start the two halves of the concert. The first half with the Walker lyric, going into Beethoven.
Exactly, and then it's chamber guys.
Exactly, and played so wonderfully well by the young pianist Emmanuel. Brilliant, fantastic. And then the second half, starting with a piece quite, in a way, similar to the Walker. So nostalgic, so melancholic, so loving, also with a hint of deep sadness. The Mahler Adagietto. And for me then to play that with a mix of people like Zandi and Boris and Farida, and then there's this incredible gang of young musicians.
Absolutely.
There's incredible energy on stage. And once again, I think to do something like Mahler Adagietto on 1.5 rehearsals, without conductor, with a lot of young, very, very eager, very talented, but inexperienced young musicians, officially that's, I think, not really possible. And just because the sheer will and the concentration and the lovely, unique atmosphere in the Endler Hall and the acoustic and just the focus of this place makes it happen.
Yes.
And somehow you're playing and you realize, this is going to be okay. We're flying together.
Yes, and the chamber music magic, as Peter always describes it.
Yes.
Could you unpack that just a little bit for us, especially for those maybe who are not musicians or haven't been involved intimately with a festival like this before? You say 1.5 rehearsals. How many hours is that? And what is all the kind of behind the scenes? Presumably everyone already comes prepared so you can hit the ground running.
Well, I think over the years and already for quite a while now, the kind of system is you have 2 rehearsals. Usually one rehearsal 1 hour, one rehearsal of 2 hours. Occasionally an extra like emergency rehearsal, extra sound check of half an hour, but that's it. It's really never more than that. And so, as you said, if you arrived here not prepared, I think you'd be doomed. That would be breaking friendships, that would be breaking trust, that would be...
So everyone has to have done their homework.
I mean, it depends on the piece, it depends on who you are, exactly how much you have to do. But yeah, the first playthrough has to be pretty much a playthrough, and not... But there can be a danger in some festivals where you have lots of rehearsals, that the first rehearsal becomes, in bar 5, someone says, excuse me, what do you have there? Is it a quaver, upbeat, or a cry? And if you start like that, it's going to take a long time. But if you dive in knowing, okay, there's not so much time to discuss anything, it's just a question of preparation, using your instinct, listening, reacting, giving impulses, accepting impulses, and above all, just a whole ocean's worth of positive energy.
Yes.
Positive energy. If that's not there, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and superhuman levels then of focused engagement, activating all those aspects of musicianship as you've described, the listening and so on.
Exactly.
But then we come to works like we heard last night, the Golichov, the Mustonen, Toccata. Gosh,
well, I have to say, to play two pieces by two composers I love so much, two contemporary composers who I think have been rarely, if ever, performed in South Africa, certainly not these pieces.
Absolutely.
To be playing those back to back here was really something. I mean, my dad was a composer. I've always played a lot of new music. I love it. So I was quite touched by the opportunity to do that. And then this piece as you said, by Osvaldo Golichov, Ever Yours, that he wrote for his dear friend Jeff Nuttall, who led the St. Lawrence Quartet, who shortly after that passed away of a very aggressive cancer. And I know that Osvaldo, the composer, knew we were playing that yesterday, and he was deeply moved. That piece means a lot to him because of the personal connection to Jeff Nuttall. And I'm actually, tomorrow morning I'm free. I'm planning to send him the link to the concert.
Fantastic.
Because he might have some things to say, but nevertheless, I think he'll be touched by I hope he'll be touched by the energy levels on stage and by the reaction of the audience. And I was really delighted last night. Also the Toccata by Olli Mustonen. So once again, it's highly virtuosic.
Absolutely.
It's really cutting edge music, and everyone on stage. I'm just, every time here I think, my God, it's these little and big miracles that happen. It's a miracle.
Those two pieces we heard last night, were they the first times you had performed them?
No, I actually suggested these two pieces.
Right.
And the octet Ever Yours by Osvaldo. In 1 month, my Stift Festival will happen in Holland. It's the 20th edition.
Congratulations!
So it's just like
a year ahead of us.
Exactly. But actually, we started, I think, 2 years later, but we didn't have to stop because of COVID.
Yes.
Because my festival is in summertime, and somehow in summer we could somehow manage something.
Yes, I guess with being outdoors or more space, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So, and Osvaldo Golichov will be the composer in residence.
Fantastic. So that means he will come and spend some time.
He will come, exactly. He'll be the whole week with us, and we're playing his clarinet quintet. Amaya will play his cello concerto, Azul, which is an astonishing piece. Lots of smaller pieces, and this octet as well.
Fantastic.
So then, we did a small concert in England about a couple of weeks ago as a tryout. And then I thought to play it here, in the same summer, on the flow. It might be nice. So
thank you for bringing it here and for introducing us.
And then the Toccata by Olli Mustonen, we played with him actually a couple of months ago in Germany.
And he was the pianist.
He was the pianist, and he's an incredible character. You've come across him, no?
No, I haven't. This is my introduction.
Right.
So
thank
you.
He is like overflowing with originality and virtuosity and I think we don't often use the word genius, but I think he's a genius and
someone to watch.
Yeah, as a pianist and as a composer,
Very good. Well, once again, therein lies so much of the value of this festival.
Yeah.
All those crisscrossing connections across continents.
Oh, yes.
Now, we don't have too much time, so this
is
something different. I think we didn't do this last time. Quick fire questions. You have to respond immediately and then give a reason for your answer.
Don't make it too embarrassing
now.
Come on.
You're welcome not to answer, but it's more fun when you have to commit instantaneously. One or the other. Bach or Brahms?
Oh God, the Brahms. Impossible question, Brahms. How, like Bach or Brahms? That's like, which of your two kids do you want to give away?
Sorry.
No,
Okay,
no,
next question.
but Brahms. I mean, for the sheer melancholic beauty of it, yeah. But that's like cutting off one arm. Next question.
Mozart, Mendelssohn.
That's very easy. I love Mendelssohn, but that's Mozart by 100 miles.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
I'm not sure
yeah.
we can be friends. No, I'm just kidding. I'm probably still too naive in my music.
I love Mendelssohn, but Mozart. Come on.
Schumann or Schubert.
Yeah, that's tricky. Yeah? Oh my God.
And Nina will only listen later, so you don't need to feel.
Schumann or Schubert, Schumann or Schubert. Well, you know what? We kept Brahms.
Yes.
So in that case, I will say Schubert.
Okay.
Because giving away Schumann and Brahms would be unthinkable.
Right.
But we have Brahms, so then with all the pain in the heart.
That sounds like a
Oh
good
my God,
compromise.
Dichterliebe. Oh God, Schubert. For the quintet, for the trios, for Winterreise.
So Daniel,
Last
I'm a
question.
big
There's one
fan.
more question. No, that's it.
No, that's it.
Are you sure there were
I'll-
5 questions?
No. Oh, they're
This one.
for next time.
Ask me,
You've got to save
am
something.
I happy about the result of the French elections? Yes. My wife is
Gosh.
French, so
Yes,
so that I can say. Okay,
Lots
yes.
of new political dispensations we need to adjust to. I've got to save some questions for Maya tomorrow.
Nice,
But
nice.
I'm a fan. I have this disc of yours from last time.
Nice.
I'm going to do something very cheeky and unprecedented. Can we take a selfie very quickly?
Oh yes.
May we do that?
I'll try to organize my hair a bit.
While I've got you in my hot seat and,
Let's
and
do
free,
it.
I'll also do my. There we go. Yeah.
It's a nice one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy with that?
I'm delighted.
Yeah, awesome.
I
Thank
am
you, Daniel.
delighted.
Very grateful.
Always
We're gonna
nice to
cut
talk to
away
you.
very quickly
Go.
to those last minutes from the Fiendish Toccata by Uli Mustonen, just to hear and see you in action. Thank you, Daniel.
It's getting sweaty and scared. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Welcome back. We're inside the Endler Hall for the second half of the third faculty concert this evening. Let me tell you just a little bit about the next piece we're going to hear because it's important. It's by a composer you might have heard come up in my interview with Mike Repper on the first night. She's a very important and exciting young American composer, perhaps not so young anymore. She looks young to me, born 1970, and flautist Valerie Coleman, and she's acclaimed for her dynamic and genre-defying contributions to contemporary music. She's the founder of the 2005 Grammy-nominated wind quintet Imani Winds, which takes its name from the Swahili word for faith, and the name was chosen in recognition of the ensemble's championing of African-American musicians. So this work that we're going to hear, Tsigane for Winds, was composed in 2011 and shares its title with the famous work for violin and piano by Maurice Ravel. You may be familiar with that Hungarian-inspired work. While many of Coleman's works are inspired by American culture, the work that we'll hear now draws further inspiration from Eastern European Romani music as well as Middle Eastern music, and much of the latter influence was due to the Palestinian virtuoso Simon Shaheen. And Coleman has also written another work with a similar musical philosophy that combines Eastern European and Middle Eastern influences. So this should be very interesting compared to the piano quintet we heard a little bit earlier tonight, a very different sound world from the early 21st century, and then with a very different constellation of instruments tonight. And so without any further ado, we welcome Ekaterina Kornishina, flute, Yahuang Shai, clarinet, Dwight Parry, oboe, Ivy Ringle, bassoon, and Jeffrey Pilkington, horn. 4 of these 5 players on stage for the first time at this Sicmf. So here is the Tsigane for Winds by Valerie Coleman. Audience on their feet here in the Endler Hall once again to appreciate the wind family of our faculty artists: Ekaterina Kornishina, flute, Yao Guangchai, clarinet, Dwight Parry, oboe, Ivy Ringel, bassoon, and Jeff Pilkington, horn, in that Cigar for Winds, its name inspired by the same piece, or the same piece of the same name by Maurice Ravel, but that rendition, or that version, by Valerie Coleman, the contemporary American composer and flautist. Taking another bow, and we'll be hearing much more from them over the coming days. Admittedly, the past couple of days here at the Sicmf have been quite strings and piano heavy, but the winds, their day, their time in the sun is yet to come. And what a brilliant prelude to that, to experience them all playing together in that Cigane for Winds by Valerie Coleman. Slight rearrangement needed now for the brass quintet that's going to grace our stage. An arrangement of Gershwin's symphonic poem, tone poem, An American in Paris. He was inspired after his visit to the French capital about a century ago. And it was composed in 1928, so just under 100 years ago. The work captures the bustling French capital from the perspective of an American visitor. And of course, there is some biography at play here because Gershwin spent some time there in the French capital. During his first visit in 1926, he'd met Maurice Ravel with the intention of becoming his student, so a nice link there to the previous piece. And then afterwards, together with Robert Schmitz, an American student of Debussy's, Gershwin organized Ravel's tour of the United States. And Ravel was obviously impressed by Gershwin, and while he didn't accept him as a student, he did write a letter of introduction to the fabled composition teacher Nadia Boulanger. And this prompted Gershwin's second visit to Paris in 1928. And the city was at that time home to many American writers, musicians, and artists, including Ernest Hemingway, Ezra Pound, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. So this piece, An American in Paris, incorporates elements of early jazz and the Tin Pan Alley music for which Gershwin was very famous, which had become well known in continental Europe after the First World War. And an interesting side note, Gershwin so strongly objected to composer Walter Damrosch's chosen tempo for the premiere that he walked out mid-performance. So let's hope Gershwin's ghost is not too upset at what he hears tonight. But there we have our faculty brassists coming out on stage. Marco Silva, Chad Kruppies, trumpets, Jeffrey Pilkington again, French horn, Mark Hampson, trombone, and Likona Tokota, tuba. In this performance for brass of An American in Paris by George Gershwin, capping off the third faculty concert at tonight's Sicmf. Well, a very appropriate timbre for that kind of work, as only look at me, habits, as only brass instruments can give. An American in Paris by George Gershwin. In that arrangement, I miscounted. I was guided by the program, not a quintet, but a brass sextet, arranged by J.F. Tayar there. We heard Marco Silva and Chad Huppies trumpets, Jeffrey Pilkington horn, and then Mark Hampson trombone, and it looked like Andrea Balocco as well from the Cape Philharmonic Orchestra, who was our other trombonist, and then Lekona Tokota, tuba player, and coming out for another bow. Those 6 brassists for an American in Paris. Nothing like those sultry tin pan alley sounds of Gershwin, bits of Rhapsody in Blue coming through there, which those in Cape Town will know that our orchestra played just only a few months ago. Another evening of masterful programming here at the Sicmf, starting off with that Tanev quintet, and then in the second half that Tsigane for winds that we enjoyed just prior to this, and ending with a brief sojourn across the equator for an American in Paris. So lots of different styles, lots of different geographies, lots of different instruments being represented here tonight at the third faculty concert at the 19th Sicmf. Time to wrap up. I'll see you outside in just a couple of minutes. And an ear. Two contrasting works by composers from North America and two contrasting instrument groups, George Gershwin all brassed up, and before that a more recent work by Valerie Coleman exhibiting the colours of the winds. And as always at the Sicmf, there's a healthy balance between the old and the new, and tomorrow night's faculty concert will be another case in point as we hear the world premiere of a new specially commissioned work by Peter Bezuidenhout called Indaba, My Children. Conducted by Michael Repper, it's scored for a large ensemble and comprises 5 sections, and I'm hoping that the composer will join me for a few minutes tomorrow evening just before the concert to give us an idea of what to listen out for. That premiere will be preceded by a work by the German contemporary composer Jörg Wittmann called 180 Beats Per Minute, written when he was just 20 years old. And then tomorrow night's faculty concert concludes with a return to the classical with a small c, that is, to music by Mendelssohn, his 3rd string quartet. Before that, if you find yourself in Stellenbosch, There will be student ensemble concerts at 1 o'clock and again at 5 p.m. Faculty cellist Maya Bogdanovic will be hosting a public masterclass at 3, and she will also be my guest during the interval tomorrow evening. And just before the concert, at 7 p.m., Peter Bezuidenhout will be in conversation with Antoni Skonken and Arthur Fieder about his new piece, just over there in the FISMA Hall. So thank you again for joining us at the Sicmf 2024 for another night, a cold night of chamber music magic. And as always, please get in touch with us via our social media channels. Hashtag Sicmf 2024 is the one to use. We'll be back again at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening for another live stream from the Endler Hall. And so until then, from the production team and from me, John Woodland, stay warm and good night.